Hello and welcome to the kitchen once again, and I think what we're going to do is talk about methods of cooking rather than particularly talking about recipes, and an approach of how you might sort of cook things slightly differently, but using basic principle methods. Now what we're going to do today is we're going to address the subject of a roux. Now a roux is a combination of butter or fat and flour, which becomes a thickening agent, and to which you can add a liquid of various sorts, either stock or milk, depending on what you want to actually achieve. To start off with, I'm going to do a basic white sauce, and it's very, very simple. And if you have to remember that about 2 ounces of butter and 2 ounces of flour will give you about a pint of white sauce. Now the interesting thing is that we're going to melt the butter in the microwave and not on the stove. Melt the butter in the microwave so that it's soft, and then to it we're going to add some flour, 2 ounces. There we go, you can see that, and about 2 ounces of flour sprinkled over the top. Stir it all in. I tend to use a guide of what it looks like, so something like that, a little bit more, and this is the slight difference that you do. If you were to do this on the stove, you would melt the butter, put the flour in, cook it out, and that would be that. With this, using the microwave, put the milk in. It's just a basic white sauce using the microwave. The thing with doing it this way is that you don't have to stand on the stove, nor are you frightened of the flour catching on the bottom of the pan so that you get it brown, or you get brown lumps, or you get burnt into it. This way it doesn't burn at all, and it's much easier to clean the bowl than it is to clean the saucepan. So this is a sort of a methodology that you can use to make the white sauce. And of course, if you're going to make a white sauce, what can you do with it? Well, you can add pasta to it and cheese, or you can just add cheese and make a cheese sauce, which can go over blanched cauliflower and broccoli, or you could add grain mustard to it and make it into a mustard sauce, which you could use on again on broccoli or cauliflower, or you can add pasta into it and make a pasta bake with adding some meat or things like that. And the other bases that you can use is that you can add mushrooms to it and make a mushroom sauce, and you would blanch the mushrooms off. We're actually going to show you how to address making a sauce that's a little bit more complex, that instead of using milk we're going to use a stock, and in this case it's called a velouté, which is the same principle of making a roux with flour and fat, and then what you do is you add stock to it instead of adding milk, so it gives it a slightly different texture. Now the thing with using the microwave is every 2 or 3 minutes take it out of the microwave, give it a stir, and then put it back in. Well, we're still on the microwave and it's happening. Taking it out, as you can see here, it's starting to thicken up around the edges, so give it a stir, and as you see it's starting to change texture. This is a basic sauce that you could use for lasagna as well, if you want to make lasagna. The other thing is, don't forget, you have to season this with salt and pepper, and you can do that according to whatever you're going to make. Right, we're going to check it in the microwave again, and we're getting quite thick now, and you can adjust this according to how thick you want it. Just add a little bit more milk into there. We wanted a sort of coating consistency this morning, so that will be quite nice. A little bit of salt and pepper. Season it up. I like to use cracked pepper. You can use finely ground pepper if you like. Just finish it off, and that will be our white sauce done. Now, if you wanted to, you could convert that and put parsley into it, which you could go with a baked gammon or with gammon steak, so you have parsley sauce, or you could use it with poached fish like cod and have a parsley sauce with that, or haddock. So that gives you your basic white sauce, and then you can take it where you like by what you have added to it. Why not add cheese to it? The cheese variety can change. You could add blue cheese to it, or you could add cheddar, or you can add parmesan or pecorino. You could add boursin, the herb garlic cheese. Depends on what you want to put it with, but at least it gives you a basis of how to develop a nice sauce to go with a main course or even a starter, and to do it like that. We're going to do another one in a minute, which will be a bit more complicated, so we'll come back to you in just a moment. Well, here we are. It's gone quite thick now. Just checking the consistency. I'm quite happy with that. Perhaps a little more milk. Who needs a packet of sauce mix when you can do it just as simply and more economically by doing that like that? Very, very simple. I'm happy now to put this into a container, and I can put some cling film over it to stop a skin developing, and it's all ready to use later. You can make a bland one like this, keep it in the fridge, and then you can add to it cheese or whatever you wish. I often, if I'm making it, make too much. Put a nice bit of cling film on the top, that stops the skin forming on the top. Now let's take this to one stage further. This time I'm going to make a filling for a leek and chicken pie. So the same principle, but this time we're going to use chopped leeks. I've put some sweet corn in, and you could also put mushrooms in if you want to, but better to put them in a bit later really than at this stage. So again, principle of 2 ounces of butter for 2 ounces of flour. Adjust the quantities depending on what you want to do. Now this time it's a little more complicated, because what you want to do is you want to cook the leeks before you start adding the flour. So this is going to take a little longer. So what we'll do is we'll put a lid on it. We'll have one of these lovely plastic lids. Pop it in the microwave. I usually allow about 6 to 8 minutes in the microwave for this to sweat off. Right, that's on its way. So we'll come back to you in just a moment. Well, we've put the leeks in the microwave. They've sweated off. So you must be very careful because it's going to be very hot. And they're all sweated off nicely. And now we're going to add our flour to get the roux going. Now, this all combines very nicely. Now, I have poached some chicken thighs, boneless and skinless, into some chicken stock. Now, when I say poached, I mean that's not rapid boiling. Rapid boiling meat makes it tough and dry. Poaching it gently cooks it without changing the makeup of the chicken. So what we're going to do is use the stock to make our sauce. So the stock is here, we can add it in to here, and there we go. See, it starts to thicken up already because the stock is hot. A little bit of salt and pepper, some seasoning. Bear in mind, if you've used stock cubes, the salt in stock cubes is quite high, so your seasoning may not need to be quite quantity as you would normally do. Now you need this texture to be slightly on the thickish side. You'll understand why in a moment. back into the microwave to start cooking it out. So we'll leave that for a few moments. Now, I poached the chicken, chopped the chicken up, reasonable sizes. And the other thing which you must be very careful of is if you do boil the chicken, one, it goes dry, and B, sometimes it will start to shred, and you don't want shredded chicken in a chicken pie. You want nice juicy pieces of meat to be able to chew. That's our chicken ready. Just finishing off the sauce in the microwave. So let's see how we're doing. Looking rather nice, and as you can see, it is quite thick, which is what I wanted. I don't want it much thinner than that at this stage. So this is all doing very nicely, and to this we're going to add our chopped chicken. Fold it over. Our chicken mixture here. Now, if you wanted to, you could use fish. Now, you would poach the fish without breaking it up too much. Then, to make your velouté, you can use some chopped onions and sweat them off and make the white sauce with fish stock or the cooking liquor that you've cooked the fish in. So if you cook, then you can use the milk. But the principle of the thickening agent is the roux, which is the butter and the flour. So you can add into that, if you're doing fish, you could add prawns, you could have chopped hard-boiled egg, you can add peas, you can add sweet corn, or whatever you fancy. But the principle is the same, so the recipe is almost the same. I have done, sometimes I've chopped up some chorizo sausage just to give it a little bit of spiciness. So I'm also going to add to this some frozen peas and some, I've already got sweet corn in. So this all mixes, nice combination of colours. I haven't cooked the peas, they will cook in the liquid. They will cook when we bake them in the oven. Now, the thing now is, this is quite pleasant, it's quite things, but we need to add a little bit of unctuousness to it. So you can use cream, but I often these days use cream cheese. I find it gives it a little bit of that extra special flavour. I use it quite a lot for sauces because I think it gives it a better finish. A little bit of cream cheese, it's about half a tub I suppose for this quantity. Put it in. Now at this stage you're in a very fortuitous situation because, as you can see, this is quite sticky and quite firm, which is exactly how we want, but you may prefer to have it a little bit slacker, and if that's the case you can add just a little bit more stock just to give it a little bit of difference. Obviously if it's fish, you really want to make sure that the texture is right before you put the fish in. Or if the fish is very delicate and breaks up easily, you might put it in the dish first and then pour the sauce over it when it's ready. The other thing is, I was thinking, you can always make an onion sauce by sweating off the onions with butter and then put the flour in. You can use milk or you can use stock and finish it with cream. And of course onion sauce, classic accompaniment to mutton, or you can use it with roast lamb as something slightly different. I have some other sauces I serve with. So there we are, there's a chicken pie mixture. Now often than not I will put that in, I make this in bulk and I will put it into containers and then freeze it. And it's perfect because you can defrost it, put it in a bowl and then make it into a pie. Or you could put pasta with it and do it as a pasta bake with cheese on the top. Today I'm going to make a pie because I want to show you something else. So I have a little dish here which is all ready for my chicken pie to bake, and you think, oh that's easy, I can do that. I need some melted butter, so we'll put that in the microwave. Only takes less than a minute to melt down. And I've a mind. I don't like waste, and I always like to use things that are up in the fridge. And today I've got some leftover phyllo pastry because I did use some phyllo pastry the other day. So we're going to make, instead of a pastry topping as in a conventional pastry topping, we're going to put a phyllo pastry topping. Phyllo pastry is one of these lovely things, like ready rolled puff pastry. It's very easy to use. You have to have a little bit of respect for it, because it does dry out rather quickly, because it's very, very, very thin, as you can see here. And if you're not used to using phyllo pastry, doing this will give you a very good introduction on how it works. Got my melted butter, and basically just like a tissue, what you do is take a sheet like this, screw it up and pop it on the top of your mixture. All right, that didn't. You can do it, you can do lots of them at a time, or you can do just a few like that. And then what you need to do is just dribble it with a little bit of butter, just to give it a little bit of things like that. And that goes into a hot oven and bakes. So we'll put that in the oven now, and you can see it when it's finished. Okay. Well, the chicken and leek pie is in the oven, so we'll see that when it comes out. It should be done. But I've now taken some phyllo pastry and I've cut it into squares. And using a sort of cake tin, I'm going to make some phyllo tarts, which I've started here. What you do is you grease the tin. Now I use a spray so that it makes it much easier than using a paintbrush or a pastry brush. And what you want to do is you put 3 layers in one square, then you butter it, and then you put another one in, and you put them at odd angles. So we put 3 in at different angles and press them in, and that's all prepared. So you've got this lovely little baskets like that. Then we're going to spray just so that the edges are quite simple. Then I'm going to put a little bit of trifle sponge in the bottom, and you can buy conventional trifle sponges, but a little bit crumbed up in the bottom, a couple of pieces like this. So it makes like a little base like that. And then I've got some amaretto, and I'm going to put some amaretto on the sponge, just a little bit. You can use another liqueur if you don't like amaretto, so it's not a problem, just to give it a little bit of moisture in the bottom there. And then what I did was I had some plums, which I had some sugar syrup, and I brought it to the boil, put the plums in, brought it back to the boil, and then I stopped it. I took it to the side and let it cool. So the objective of that is that you don't overcook the plums, because there's worse things you want to do. And what we will do now is we will put some plums into each one of the tart cases. About 3/4 would probably do the job. And then I'm going to top it with a mixture of crushed amaretti biscuits and pecan, just to give it a little bit of crunch on the top. And that's all ready to go into the oven now, which we will do, and we will bring it out when it's cooked. So we're going to have a look and see what they look like, shall we? There we are. First of all, one chicken pie. Piping hot, beautifully done. Plate to serve. There we are, one chicken pie. Piping hot and rearing to go. I'll tip it slightly so you can see the top, nice and golden brown. You see? And the pastry topping is very light, so it's very easy to, and it's very crispy, so it's really rather nice. And then what about tarts? Well, we'll take those out of the oven. Nice and golden brown. If you see, you can see them there. We'll give them a little bit of a presentation. We can put them onto a nice dish. Like this. And what I would suggest you do is you can add a little bit of snow just to give them a little bit of extra oomph. And when I say snow, a little bit of icing sugar. Just to finish them off. Serve them warm or cold, but and you can serve those with some ice cream or some creme fraiche, whipped double cream, clotted cream, exactly as you wish. But there you are, little plum phyllo strudels ready to eat. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that visit to the kitchen today, and I look forward to seeing you again on another occasion. Enjoy your cooking. Bye bye for now.